Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 95. Core Refining Machine. Part 1. Sublord? All the executives were surprised at the unexpected promotion. A second ago, the man seemed enraged, but now, he appointed someone as the sub-lord. The executives should have been happy, but they were as shocked as Chen Yuzhang. Chen Yuzhang opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Why aren't you saying anything? Isn't it admirable to be a sub-lord at this age? Only when he heard the words of Chen Yuan did he come back to his senses. Although he realized that he had shortcomings, Chen Yuan, the legend of the cult, appointed him as the sub-lord. Who else can get this glory? Chen Yuzhang bowed and cried out, "I will not disappoint you. I hope you don't." Chen Yuzhang was appointed as the sub-lord of the Sky Demon Order, which was a vacant position for a long time. In a way, he was fortunate. Unlike the heads of the other two factions, he didn't think of playing tricks and acknowledged the existence of Chen Yuan right away. "Okay then, let's continue the meeting." Tack. Chen Yuan sat down at the top seat. The executives who were standing also sat down. Chen Yuzhang got up and sat in his seat. His heart, however, was still full of boiling emotions. Let's start with the problem of merging everything into the cult. The meeting went smoothly. The agenda was to unite all the factions into one cult. The PPT material was prepared in advance by Huan Miano and was played out. He pointed to the graph illuminating on the wall with a laser pen and explained. If you look at the graph, you can see that the main cult is a branch of this company. There were a total of 40 companies. After the dissolution of Black Sky Company, the cult was divided into 3 factions, and 2 factions managed to create notable companies in the business world. Chen Wuqiang was an exception since he ran an organization with small to medium-sized enterprises and venture companies. Among the listed groups, 13 companies have significantly higher stock prices. Mergers and acquisitions will be difficult. The people mumbled at that. There were different types of mergers. The most common form was that a large company would buy a small one, but funds were the problem. So what's your plan? A new merger of affiliates of the same type. The Yongchen and the Chunxin Group, which had multiple subsidiaries, had similarly oriented affiliates under them. The same was true for SMEs and venture companies. And merging similar ones would reduce the financial burden. But it will take quite a lot of time compared to normal mergers. It was because this required the persuasion of each company's shareholders. If the company merged, then it was the duty of the higher company to convince them that their company would grow bigger once it came under their company. And that wasn't an easy task. Complicated. Chen Yuan clicked his tongue saying that. Unlike anything else which seemed simple in the modern world, the process of merging was too complicated. There were too many restrictions, starting with tax issues. But it didn't matter. The corporate matters were the executives' responsibilities. And how long will it take? Since we haven't even started the negotiations with the Chunxin Group, if we start it now, it would take around a year. At Huan Miango's words, Chen Yuan said. Too long. A few required permit reports from the IRS and the Economic Commission from the government. This cannot be completed in a short time because there are screening and verification processes. The others nodded in agreement. A merger of a small company would end with a small bride, but it was tougher since the company they wanted to merge was huge. Naturally, the bribing won't work as huge companies were under the watch of the Chinese government. Huan Miano. Yes. Lord. What you told me now is the normal procedure. Which means that there is another way, right? Huan Miano responded to Chen Yuan's words. Right. Then what is the problem? The Ministry of Murim and the Murim Association have connections with economic organizations, including the State Council. They will surely obstruct us when we try to merge. If all the companies affiliated with the Sky Demon Order were merged, the growth potential would be enough for the cult to enter into the top 20 businesses. That would definitely cause trouble for the Murim Association. Pathetic ones. Chen Yuan clicked his tongue in disappointment. Even with the imperial family not controlling Murim anymore, the Murim Association was now stepping in his way. I apologize. Chen Yuzhang. Huan Miao. Yes. Ancestor. Yes. Lord. Chen Yuan called the two of them. I will give you 3 months. Get the consultation and the merging of the Wangxin and the Chunxin group within that time. Huh? Lord. To make it happen so fast, it is up to you people to make it happen. Not just Huan Miao, but even Chen Yuzhang was perplexed at that. If a person knew a little bit of management, then one would know how unreasonable that was. Chen Yuzhang looked at Chen Yuan's eyes. Ah. Ancestor is testing us again. Testing him again. Hearing unreasonable demands, he remembered his father, Lord Chen Wujin. Chen Wujin, who left the Black Sky Company, never gave the executives easy tasks. Perhaps the one leading the group hopes for those following him to be capable. With a confident look, Chen Yuzhang said, I'll do it. The faces of executives, including Huan Miao, were distorted. Chen Yuan warned. I know better than anyone how you all stayed at this level only. If you say that something is difficult from now on, I will judge that you are not worthy of the position you are in. The faces of the executive turned pale. Answer. Hu Bang yelled with a loud voice. Yes. Looking at them, Mun Ranyang and Hu Bang shook their heads. Their anticipation for the future descendants ended up with disappointment. They need mental training. Hu Bang vowed to get everything done. But he knew that Chen Yuan wasn't the kind to leave the matter in others' hands. I will take care of the Murim Association. Ah. At those words, Chen Yuzhang and the executive smiled. If the checks on the company were stopped, then they could get the task done. However, that didn't mean that all their problems were solved. To deal with the Murim Association means to deal with the entire Murim. The Jinan Murim Association handled the gate battles. And that was why the cult was never able to respond to battles. However, the association had already realized that the cult was moving, so they would do everything in their power to stop them from rising. In other words, it meant war. Maybe I need to prepare. It is war with them. After 27 years, the battle between the Sky Demon Order and Murim was finally going to happen. Surprisingly, the concerns of the past turned into determination. The 27-year-old grudge engraved in their bones. Huh. Seeing that, Chen Yuan smiled. He was going to warn them if they showed weakness, but that didn't seem necessary. Hang Yurin. Yes, Lord. I will give you a different mission. Yes. Take the information from the info group under Huan Miao and merge the information side with the Chunxin group. Huan Miao was flustered at those words. Lord. The info group. He was the one who had been handling the information gathering. And when he was asked to give the management rights to someone else, he felt bad. I am not getting rid of your rights. What do you mean? They are to hand over the intelligence and information in charge of finding the Lord, to Hang Yurin. Ah. Huan Miao felt relieved at that. Once the merger process started, Huan Miao wouldn't be able to handle everything. Chen Yuan was trying to make Hang Yurin work on it in the meantime. After 10 days, when the training in the Chunxin group is done, the Great Guardian will come here. Get all the information about that secret prison from him. Ah. For 27 years, the Great Guardian had been tracking the whereabouts of the Lord. And his data would be even more massive than the two factions. In conclusion, Chen Yuan asked her to gather all the information and see the tracking process. Yes. I will give you 2 months. Find the current lord. Yes. I will definitely find him. Pack. She knelt down and bowed. Finding their lord was something they have always been longing for. Once everything was done, Chen Yuan asked Yu Sohua to bring something. That was core. They were the A and C class cores that Chen Yuan had obtained. They were kept in the safe of the vice chairman's office. And Chen Yuan took out the S-class core from his waist bag. Goo. Oh. That. He just took it out, but its energy made the executives drool. S-class core. How? Since they all weren't registered Murims, they couldn't participate in the gate defense openly, so they didn't have the chance to see cores. As a result, seeing 3 of them in front of them shocked them. Looking at their reaction, Chen Yuan opened his mouth. There are other pressing issues with you all. At those words, the executives couldn't raise their heads. Chen Yuan repeatedly criticized them for being pathetic compared to their ancestors. It was the same for Chen Yujiang. Your energy is pathetic. Even Hang Yuren, a superior master, had only 80% of internal energy compared to superior masters of the past. That was due to the weak energy in the nature around them. And the Murim Association only supplied assisting devices to the ones under it. Besides, the cult was at a disadvantage. By refining the core, we raise the power of the cult. Do you get it? Yes. The executives all responded. In the present era, cores were the best way to improve their skills. And if that was given to them, then it would surely help them grow stronger. Core. Happiness was apparent on all their faces. I heard there is a way to refine the core. Can you secure that? Chen Yuan could refine the core through nano. However, it would be impossible to absorb the energy and then pass it to others. Huan Miango then said. I was about to say. The cult hasn't yet established a technology to refine the core. It was due to the restrictions. The cult wasn't registered under the Murim Association and couldn't participate in gate wars. As a result, there was no need for them to have cores, and getting a refining tech was difficult because of that. Are you saying refining cannot be done? No, not that. We found a core refining machine when we were cleaning up the Murim branch in Jinan City. Huan Mianlo has always wanted to secure that machine. But he couldn't get his hands on it. However, when the chance came, he didn't miss it. That is good. Huan Mianlo couldn't hide his happy face at that. And where is it located? It is located in the product warehouse in the Jinan City Murim Association branch. Why didn't you move it? Huan Mianlo answered it. The device is so big that we need to disassemble it to move it. Since we couldn't remove it carelessly, we were securing the blueprint first. It was done yesterday, and the disassembly started this morning. I will check when we'll get it delivered. Huan Mianlo made a call. The call didn't connect, despite the constant ringing. Sensing that it was strange, Huan Mianlo frowned and called the one in charge of security. However, that person didn't answer either. Just in case, he looked to see if his phone had some problem. He had instructed his guard to text him once every 30 minutes to make sure nothing went wrong. The last text was received 40 minutes ago. Biting his lip, he said, "We seem to have a problem." The Murim Association's product warehouse in the southern part of Jinan City. There, warehouses and factories of various companies were located. It was possible to put their warehouses in a secret place, but the Murim Association wanted them to be in that place. Sector 7 Warehouse. A device that could enhance the core. Although it was a device, it weighed around 400 tons. And it took up a huge space. Even after disassembling, it would take a few huge trucks to move it. And such a device was being disassembled and transported. Wheeing. The boxes were moved non-stop by machines. There was a middle-aged man in a blue padded jumper watching it. The blue scabbard around the waist showed that he was a Murim warrior. Shoo! A man with a black mask appeared. All the corpses have been disposed of. How many minutes passed since the bodyguard sent the text? 15 minutes later than usual. I guess we have time here. Almost everything was loaded in boxes. And in 10 minutes, everything would be done. It will take the Yongchun group at least 40 minutes to come here. Move it. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, the masked man bowed. With the kind of protection you gave us, we were able to start the mission with peace. To be honest, I don't even think they will come. At those words, the middle-aged waved his hand. Don't just say stuff like that. I am serious. I just came here as the association dispatched me, but I never dreamed of being with such a great person. It is an honor. The middle-aged man smiled at those words. Who would even hate praises? One of the 5 great warriors, Warrior Kwok, is with us. Besides, 18 flame plum troops are guarding this place, so why would I be scared even if the remnants of the cult come? Shockingly, the man was Kwok Woon, one of the 5 great warriors of Mount Hua. One of the 5 great warriors had descended here. It was only natural for the masked man to be pleased. Stop with this, and finish the rest of the work. Even if you don't want to get this work done, we don't need others to get hurt. Roll. Before Kwok Woon could even finish speaking, something rolled on the floor. The masked man looked down. Kook. It was a man's head. Kwok Woon was shocked. Song Jiam. The deceased was his disciple and a member of the 18 Flame Plum troops. It was ridiculous. He was supposed to be guarding the southern entrance of the warehouse with 4 others, so what is his head doing here? I didn't even feel anything. Who did this? He was one of the 5 great warriors, and he could sense everything around him. And then he heard something else. Roll. This time it was 2 heads. Hanzhong. Yunhuan. 2 more of the same troops. They were supposed to be guarding the eastern side of the product warehouse. They had blank expressions, which meant they didn't even see what had happened. Kwok Woon, sir. What the hell is this? Even the masked man couldn't hide his shock. Kwok Woon opened his energy to sense his surroundings. And at that moment, he felt something. This. The west side of the warehouse. How dare that person? Kwok Woon brought out his sword and stretched out his hand to the west. Shoo! The Scarlet Plum Sword, a treasured sword of Mount Hua clan, came out and rushed to the west. I don't know who that is, but I won't. Puck. Kwok. Something unbelievable happened. The Scarlet Plum Sword which flew stabbed the masked man in his chest. Kwok, sir. The masked man fell to the floor. He believed in Kwok Woon and died by his sword. Kwok Woon's face was filled with anger and shock. Who? My air sword? He didn't see the sword fly in that direction. And then he heard footsteps. As if the person didn't need to hide his presence. Kwok Woon slowly turned his head. Step. Someone walked in the dark shadows of the warehouse with something in his hand. Byung-chan. It was the head of Bei Byung-chan, one of the members of his troops, dripping in blood. The head was thrown at Kwok Woon. Roll. You. Kwok Woon, who lost his reason at the death of his people, stretched out his hand too. Grab the sword. Shoo. The Scarlet Plum Sword, which was lodged in the masked man's chest, was pulled out and flew to him, but then it stopped. PRRR. Kook. The stretched out hand was staggering with veins popping up. Even though Kwok Woon raised the energy, the sword didn't come for him. Cha-cha-chong. And then the sword, which stopped mid-air, shattered. Pa. Kwok Woon coughed up blood and moved 2 steps back. Due to the enormous amount of internal energy he used, he suffered an internal injury. Who would have thought that one of the 5 great warriors would be humiliated like this? Kwok, you bastard. Who are you? Kwok Woon glared at whoever was hiding in the shadows. Jump. And someone appeared from the shadows. It was Chen Yoan with his sharp eyes. So young? This man looked to be in his 20s, which made Kwok Woon doubt his eyes. Cun Yoan spoke with a disappointed face. It is pathetic that you were given the title of 5 great warriors. WH what? Chapter 96. Core Refining Machine. Part 2. Pathetic? 5 great warriors. Among the registered Murim warriors, these 5 people were at the very top. How much did one have to work to get that honor? You. Angry at the insulting words, Kwok Woon swung his swords. There was one secret he realized as he reached this current status. Plum Blossom Sword. It was a technique in which shattered sword pieces could be controlled. However, he had never thought that he would use it on the treasure, Scarlet Plum Sword. Cha-cha-cha. The sword's fragments on the ground moved at once. It may have seemed easy, but it was not. The trajectory of the fragments of the flying blades followed the 25 Plum Blossom Sword technique. The moment you try to block the fragments, the smaller pieces will cut into you. A deadly technique. As a descendant of an orthodox clan, he knew how vicious this technique was. Shoo! As expected, Chen Yoan raised his hand. It seemed like he was trying to block the shards of the sword. Pretty interesting attempt, but the idea is sloppy. Swish! Chen Yoan lowered his palm. Papa Pack. The fragments of the blade, which were rapidly flying at him, were knocked onto the ground with internal energy. No. Kwok Woon's face hardened. His secret technique was blocked as if it was nothing. My secret. Kwok Woon, who was staggering with extreme shock, coughed blood again. Kwok. It was because he raised his energy to control the shards, and it then unexpectedly backfired. Kwok Woon almost fell down, but he held his stomach and glared at Chen Yoan. Who the hell? Why is this monster here? The Murim Association had several rules. The first rule was so important that no one under the association would dare break. Each year, there would be 5 requests from the association, and they need to be fulfilled. But there was an exception. The higher the rank, the better the treatment. Go to Jinan City to check the working of the Yongchun group, the remnants of the demonic cult. It was a letter Kwok Woon had been given. He asked the Murim Association executive. Weren't they being monitored by the Jinan City Murim branch? I guess you haven't heard yet. What? Before the latest opening of the gate in Jinan City, 70% of the Murim warriors of the Jinan City branch who participated in the war were wiped out, and the remaining ones requested their leaves to be granted. What? Why? The fact that 70% died and that the remaining ones left the branch meant that the Murim Association had no control of Jinan City anymore. The head office is concerned about this. They are urgently asking you to stay at Weifang after the gate issue is done. Weifang City was to the east of Jinan. The demonic cult. The one thing the Murim Association was wary of. Which was why they were monitoring the cult for 27 years. I get it. I'll take this task. Kwok Woon thought of what happened and was now regretting it. He had one remaining right to refuse the task. He should have used it. However, since the location was close, he accepted the job. Shoo! Blood was clogging up in his throat. HIA. HIA. His injuries seemed worse than he imagined. The more he tried to use energy, the worse his condition got. It was as if he was already defeated. Who the hell is he? It was clear that this young man was stronger than him. No matter how much he tried, he couldn't feel the energy from Chen Yuan, which meant he was on another level than him. Body change? There was no other way to explain the young look. Kwok Woon opened his mouth, while trying to endure the pain. Kwok, are you from the demonic cult? He asked out of curiosity. It was definite that those who interfered with their work must be related to the Yongchen group. Chen Yuan moved his finger. Shoo! Hook! Kwok Woon hurriedly moved his body. A sharp sense passed by his side. Sword marks lay on the ground. He made swords which can't be seen. It was something that every martial artist longed for. Kwok Woon acknowledged this man. This young man was someone he could never defeat. Interesting. To call the cult like that in front of me. Despite saying it was interesting, the voice was cold. Even when he was in the past, not a single person could use the word demonic cult in a degrading manner, but here, in front of Chen Yuan, this man was calling the cult in such a way. He has to be from the demonic cult. Kwok Woon's expression darkened. It was because the concerns of the Murim Association were correct. What the hell? Was there a monster like this in the cult beside the Black Horse and Wind Demon? The Black Horse was a nickname for Chun Wu Jin, the imprisoned lord. And Wind Demon was the great guardian Mara Yun. They were like beasts 27 years ago, until the company fell. And Chun Wu Jin was one of the 5 great warriors of that time. Originally, Kwok Woon was a normal warrior, but 20 years ago, he managed to awaken and took the empty spot. Grunt. Kwok Woon grunted through his teeth. This is bad. It doesn't matter who I am. It was embarrassing, but he had to run away. If he was gonna stay obsessed with the title, then he could be taken hostage or die right there. And if I am caught, the association will have to make a bargain. I need to let them know that there are monsters like this in the demonic cult. He kept trying to justify his thought to run away. Without that, Kwok Woon would die. I need to retreat. Retreat. Shoo. What do you keep mumbling inside? Huh? All of a sudden, Chen Yuan appeared right in front of him. Embarrassed, Kwok Woon tried to move away by causing a diversion with the sword pieces. Slash. In an instant, his arm was cut off. Kuak. The pain was beyond imagination. However, since he was a supreme master, he could control his body more freely. So he tried to endure the pain. Frob. I need to hold on. Because he knew the moment his heart would shake, he would meet his end. Kwok Woon pulled something out of his waist with his left hand. This is the worst. To use this. It had the form of a grenade. M94. A flash bomb with twice the power of a military M82. An explosive that emits millions of candelas and sounds over 200 decibels. It would blind both eyes and even cause permanent damage to the ears. To use this against a human and not gate entities. Fat. The flash bomb, which was supposed to explode as soon as the pin fixed on the belt was pulled out, exploded immediately. Along with light, came the sound of a dolphin screaming. Kook. Even with his eyes closed, the light was still horrible. Kwok Woon cuffed his ears to not let the sound enter his ears. It would work in 4 seconds. And those 4 seconds were crucial. Even if the eyes were closed a moment later, they would be burnt. Now is the time. Injure him and run away. He knew that the flash bomb wouldn't do any damage to the opponent. Feeling the crisis, he knew that the enemy would also expect this. However, even if the enemy expects it, he would have to sense the opponent without seeing nor hearing. Fat. Kwok Woon immediately shut his eyes. It was then. Tack. His left wrist was caught. Is this even possible? Only 2 seconds passed. And the light was bright. Kwok Woon closed his eyes tightly and tried to shake off the hand. Slash. At that moment, something moved through his ankle, and pain came over him. Kwayak. Kwa Woon screamed as the light disappeared and opened his eyes. He didn't know what happened in the 4 seconds. It made no sense for a man who lost his blindness and hearing to have such a good sense. Why you? Kwok Woon's face turned pale. Chun Yo-won, who was holding his wrist, looked at him. For a man who was supposed to be blind by the light, he was looking straight at Kwok Woon. Why did you think I couldn't do this? No. No way. Grab. Yoop. Chun Yo-won slammed his face into the floor. Bang. Kwok. Tap tap tap. And then sealed his blood points. Despite being a supreme master warrior, he felt defeated for real. Body isn't moving. Kwok Woon was desperate. His plan to run away had failed miserably. Chun Yo-won lifted his hand, which pushed him to the ground. K. Now I want to hear what you people were trying to do. As expected, information. Kwok Yoon bit his lip strong enough for it to bleed. He couldn't answer. After being caught, it was obvious that the enemy would kill him once he got the information. Shaking in anger, Kwok Woon opened his mouth. Kill me. He wanted to protect the honor he had left. After all, he lost because he wasn't skilled. However, he was never going to betray the people by leaking information. In pain, he tried to speak. No matter how much you torture, I will not give you anything, not to you the evil demonic cult. That so? Chun Yo-won smiled. What? Kwok Woon smiled. Even though he showed such will, the enemy was relaxed. Doesn't matter. I will endure. Even if a sword would be put on his neck, he was going to stay silent. But it felt strange. He thought that the enemy would pull out his nails and then cut his fingers, but Chun Yo-won kept asking questions. Is the Murim Association the one who sent you? Where did you come from? What instructions did you receive? What do you know about the Murim Association? After each question, he waited for 10 seconds and then asked another. Kwok Woon couldn't understand what the man's intentions were. He kept asking questions, despite not getting any answer. Why was he doing that? Kwok Woon stayed silent. He wasn't sure what mind game was being played, but he wasn't going to fall for it. It lasted for around 10 minutes. That is all. Chun Yo-won stopped asking questions. Kwok Woon's face turned tense as the questions stopped. Creepy. He felt something cold and gloomy. He was unable to move his body, but the weird energy was very unpleasant and he wanted to run. What? What is this gloomy energy? At that moment, Kwok Woon's eyes widened. Shoo! Something hazy was moving around. Like a ghost. What is this? Even when he closed his eyes and then opened them again, the ghost stayed. It was approaching them while passing through the warehouse wall, and the sight made him want to run. And it wasn't just one ghost. Shoo! They appeared from all sides. Confused, he shouted at Chun Yo-won. Why you can't see those things around? He was trying to see if he was the only one who could see them. Chun Yo-won smiled. Do I look like I don't see them? Shoo! The ghosts were approaching them. Kwok Woon, who was unable to move because of the sealed blood points, yelled. Are you not going to do anything? Despite that, Chun Yo-won stood still. Soon, the ghosts were near them. Kwok Woon's eyes met with Chun Yo-won. He then looked at the ghost. Songjayam? He wasn't sure, but the face of the ghost was similar to his disciple. And the others too. These are. Kwok Woon's eyes turned red. Did they appear because they couldn't forget their grudges? Kwok Woon believed that the ghosts appeared because of their grudge against Chen Yuan, who killed them. He felt ashamed for trembling in front of them. You are the true heroes of the faction. At that time, Chen Yuan spoke to the ghosts. Have you dealt with all the rats around you? Kwok Woon couldn't understand why the ghosts were nodding their heads at Chen Yuan's question. What is this? Ah, were they people you brought? At Chen Yuan's question, Kwok Woon shouted. Yes, you bastard. They are the proud disciples of the Mount Hua clan. They will kill. Grab. Yoop. Chen Yuan grabbed his mouth. And then said. Noisy. Whatever they are, I will make sure to use them even if they are disciples. What? Kwok Woon's eyes went wide at those words. Unless he misunderstood, Chen Yuan said he was the one who turned them like this. Yoop. Yup. What did he do? Kwok Woon tried to protest. But with his mouth closed, it sounded like a groan. At that moment, Chen Yuan's right wrist shone with a gloomy blue light. Creepy. And the feeling from it was the same as the energy around the ghosts. See, could this be possible? Puck. Chen Yuan's hand pierced his chest. Kwok. Drop. The whole body turned pale and fell. It then soon began to convulse and then stiffened. It was a truly tragic death for one of the 5 great warriors, said to be the strongest in Murim. Shoo. Before long, a ghost appeared from Kwok Woon's body. Chen Yuan nodded with a smile as he looked at the ghost. I must be lucky. A ghost of a supreme master. He was satisfied. Reaching out his hand to the ghost's head, Chen Yuan mumbled. Let's see what you thought about those questions. The ability to read memories. Finally, he got a chance to use it.